We're back once again. This time we are diving into a world that I know nothing about. Educational data mining. So, as I know nothing about it, I'm going to get off the stage very quickly. But just to flag right at the start of this one, questions are welcome throughout. And given the kind of complexity of the topic, probably will be necessary, certainly from me when I go, what does that big word mean? But also, there are inherently some things that might not be discussable. So, specifics about data to do with the companies involved and things like that. So, just please bear that in mind when you're asking your questions. But other than that, as always, have at the chat and we'll dive into them as we go through. Right, well, that is quite enough from me. Please bear in mind that there is an overlapping session during this one where we have, and I've lost my list. He says, having been previously very well organised, storytelling and the art of engagement starts at 3:15. If you are going to that, don't worry, everything here will be recorded. Similarly, if you get engrossed here, as I know I will be, that session will be recorded as well. You will not miss anything either way. Just go to the session that you want to. That's it from me, and I will get out of the way.
Thanks, Tom. Hey, everyone. This is Smruti Sudarshan, and I work for LinkedIn. So, I work as a senior learning specialist at LinkedIn. But today, I'm going to present a topic on educational data mining, which I have just been working on in the side as a research paper and also as an idea in general. Yeah, so going back to the topic on educational data mining to set a context on it. So, as complex as the word seems, it's not as complex as it is. So, it's all to do with what exactly data is and how do we interpret the data and what kind of data are we taking to interpret the learner's behavior. So, just in case to keep this session more interactive, I would want all of you to chat, interact on the comment section, and also I would also like your thoughts on what do you think exactly is educational data mining before I actually jump into it. Any prior thoughts before I get into the entire topic? Cool. So if you could just give me like a few use cases of, or maybe like just examples of how do you use data in day to day, in your day to day life. So I think it's almost become pretty relevant, and also it's become like a thing for me at least. Like I love traveling, so while I travel, I do go to Agoda and look at all the ratings, the stars that are in there, and also the comments and also the reviews for each of the hotel or some sort of an trip itinerary that comes up. So that's how I use data in my day to day life. But in case also if you use data in other ways as well, like for example the new one that's come out in chat GPT format, wherein you can give that data and have the data being interpreted as a pattern. So that is also one more as a data in your day to day life. But to give you a quick example of how we are using educational data today is that as of now, like there are about 2.4 quintillion tons of data, that is educational data, that is being generated in our day-to-day lives. And also like in terms of like schools, audiences, and also maybe like if you see the LMSs and also the survey data that is being generated today, we have like about 2.4 quintillion tons of data that's being generated. And also with the kind of data exposure that we have in terms of like the social media comments and all of that, so all of that put together is like your data in your that is like your data in your day-to-day life. But when it comes to like educational data, and also in terms of like what kind of databases that are being created, and the kind of databases that, and also the kind of data that's been stored, we have about like in those 2.5 bytes of data that are being created and stored in those databases, all that is actually being taken for your decision making and also for statistical analysis, correct? So what I do is that maybe like for example, if a learner is showing a dropout rate of certain at a certain point, this is where I kind of like tend to go to the LMS and check at what step is this person actually dropping off, or this learner is dropping off from the point. So this helps me actually kind of drive my decisions while I'm creating the next storyboard, or maybe like when I'm creating the next learning strategy that I'm going to do. So this sort of data and this huge amounts of data needs to be stored somewhere and needs to have a database in place. So that is where you come to this entire definition, something known as a learner data. Now, what exactly is a learner data is something that helps us make connections to uncover insights about learners' learning behavior. So now, when I say learners' learning behavior, so there are so many kinds of behavior that a person kind of implements online. If I have to take an example, take the learning behavior and your marketing strategy, or your learning strategy and marketing strategy to be as one part of it. And when I say that, while you're doing marketing, like if you consider Amazon, you have an cart that is in place. When you're there on that cart, and then you go ahead and put in, like, say, like only kitchenware items, or like just the maybe toys, or like baby clothes that are in there. So when those kind of data has been fed into the cart, and next time when you open up Amazon and when you see your feed, you are actually being displayed the same amount or the same suggestions that are being displayed. Similarly for Netflix as well, if you see on Netflix the movie that you watch in the beginning, or you select in the beginning, now that is where you get the suggested in patterns as well. So now those are your learning behavior and those are your learning patterns. So similarly, what we do here is that we collect that data and we analyze the learner's behavior. But again, this is on the LMS side of it, or that is your learning management side of it. Now, what do we do with all of this? We analyze this and we form a pattern. So for example, if there is a learner who's actually just coming onto the LMS and just exploring one course, like he or she kind of tends to take one course and drops off that one course and goes to the other course, then maybe we say that that person is not as inclined to learning, but we may call him like an exploratory learner. And also, like if there's a person who, or if there's a learner who's actually going into the system and being kind of like just going on choosing AI related items, or maybe like AI related courses, then we say that that learner is much more dedicated when compared to the exploratory learner. So like these are all the kind of behaviors that we are trying to analyze when we say that this is the learner data that we want to achieve. So this pattern and this collected pattern, entire pattern, is known as learner data. Now, before I get into the next section, so I want to know, like, if you're able to catch up with what I'm actually saying. You can also post your thoughts in the comment section, and I would be able to take those questions. Because before I move on to the next one, like understanding the learner data and analyzing it is very important. Before I go on to the next part of it. Okay. So this is like your entire dashboard of how a learner data looks like. This is a very niche prototype. Again, it's a small dashboard that is there online. So all these are like the reports that are being generated because of the kind of. So there are even more in-depth reports that you would get, like on the click level basis or on the engagement level basis. But yeah, this is like a very normal dashboard that's been kept. I mean, that's been shown over here. And here, as you can see, that the kind of courses that have been taken here, the courses that are there in progress, this is again for just one learner. So there's just one course that is in there, which shows that there's one course in progress. There are like the courses that have been completed, then how many are enrolled and how many courses are still left in his or her bucket. Now, if you see the number of tests that are attempted, and if you see the number of courses that are completed, so if you see, compare both of them. So is it like your course is having a lot number of tests and knowledge checks when compared to the number of courses that is getting completed? And also, if you see the number of tests he or she has failed, and if you see the number of courses in progress, this kind of data or insight tells us that, okay, this person is actually trying to take up the courses, but he or she is not attempting the tests properly. So this is one of the use cases here on the learner data interpretation part. But yeah, again, you have like n number of insights that you get in over here, and also the kind of insights that you get in from the other dashboards as well. This is like a basic dashboard, but yeah, so from the other dashboards also is pretty much very similar to this. So these are just about scores and also the test data. But going forward, I would show you like the kind of insights that we got while we are actually trying to interpret the educational data. Now, when it comes to like educational data mining as such, it's a pretty huge discipline, or you can say it's more like an emerging discipline as of today in the educational technology world. So it's again about developing methods to explore unique and increasingly large scale data. But again, when you say you're exploring unique and increasingly large scale data, it also means that you're also trying to analyze the engagement data, the drop off rates, the time, and also maybe you can say the test scores that are in there, the attendance part of it. So what kind of income group that person is present in, high income, low income. So going forward, you'd also see a study on that, and also what kind of methods are used to better the students, and also the settings in which they learn in. So if there's an environment, like say for example, if a person is if it's an adult learner and he or she is traveling from one place to another place, so if he or she is taking a metro, then I would say that the environment would show mobile as on the higher end of it, rather than showing like a computer or a laptop or like a tablet on the lower side of it. So basically what I'm trying to say is, out of the 100%, the environment would be more on the mobile side of it. And my learning strategy, depending on the educational data that I have seen of all the learners, would mostly be in terms of like a micro learning strategy, or maybe like all the nano learning strategies that are there in place. So this is about educational data mining. And going forward, I'll also show you like how exactly is EDM, that is educational data mining, and how it is different from learner analytics, and also what is machine learning to it. So as you can see in the graph here, or maybe like a Venn diagram over here, so learner analytics is like a huge thing, which is actually a part of machine learning itself. But EDM, or educational data mining, is a huge part of learner analytics only. So here we are not going to analyze anything else apart from the learning, apart from the data, and also the data that is generated on the education side, but nothing to do with the data that's other than this. We are not going to generate anything else. So before I move forward, there's also one more concept that I would like to introduce. It's also known as a digital body language. Again, primarily used on the marketing side of it, wherein people are actually measuring your digital body language while they are while they are actually going on a website. Now for example, even if you take this website for example, here I can actually, if you are implementing a digital body language software over here, so wherever you click and whatever you do, there'll be a huge heat map that will be generated at the back end, wherein you can see that, okay, if this is a red zone, then this person has gone and clicked here a number of times, and if this is like a green zone, then that means that this person has gone and clicked here like another 100 times or something like that. So that sort of a heat map and that sort of an analysis is what the educational data mining gives, and also what the digital body language is. Now digital body language is nothing but the footstep that a learner leaves on the website, or maybe on your LMS, while he or she is actually taking up the course. So yeah, so that's about the digital body language. If you have any questions, I can take a pause here. If there are any questions from your end. Okay, Sarah, you do have a question about how about the time in the course and the repeating elements. Yeah, definitely, we would be taking that as well. The time of the course, and also the repeating elements in the course. That is like one of the basics of digital body language, which we would be taking into consideration. But I would like to get more clarity on what exactly are you speaking here in terms of like digital body language, or are you talking in terms of like EDM? Okay, cool. So this is how your this is now the one which I'm presenting on the screen is like a design of digital body language. So again, here there are like three people who are actually involved in it. One is the faculty, teachers, administrator, and also a student. So but the major contributor here to an educational data mining is that it would be more in terms of like a student rather than a faculty and an administrator. because here the main aim of an educational data mining person, or maybe like if you are generating analytics, is to help the student direct his or her learning. So to direct that self-directed learning, and also to give that insight into place as to what exactly a learner should do and how exactly he or she should be able to take a course in their path, is where we get into the educational data mining part of it. Now, coming to the process part of it, if
Sorry,
you
just to interrupt, there's a question that came out of what you were just saying there, which was what is the difference between an adaptation engine and an intervention engine?
Yeah, so that is what I was just coming to, wherein I was just explaining what is adaptation and intervention. Now, okay, so now as soon as the student or the learner interacts with the content, so there are two ways wherein wherein you have the two, wherein there's a number two over there. It goes to the student learning data, and on that database it predicts what. So it goes into a machine learning model, which is a predictive model, obviously, wherein this is more like a Netflix concept, wherein he or she has actually seen the courses, and liked the courses, commented on certain courses and all of that. It takes that data and pushes those courses or those relevant courses to the student on what he or she wants to take into consideration. Now, in that predictive model, also that predictive model is fed by the faculty and also the admin, like the LMS admin, while they're actually trying to help the learner learn his or her, or direct the learning path of the learner. Now, coming to the adaptation and intervention engine. Now, adaptation engine is wherein a person, while he or she is trying to take up a course, and say like they go ahead and like that course. So if say Smruti is taking like data analytics course, then I go ahead and like data analytics part 1, and then I also like something like introduction to data analytics and data analytics in day to day life. So now data analytics part 2, part 3, and also maybe like case studies on data analytics is what is given by the adaptation engine, which means that the students likes and dislikes are being adapted, and then the courses are being thrown to or maybe pushed to the learner, saying that hey, this is how you should conduct your learning. But now when it comes to intervention engine, this is wherein the engine kind of intervenes or provides notifications to the learner, saying that hey, yesterday you were doing data analytics, but today you're doing biology. So what was the difference? Like what happened at data analytics course that did not happen, that you just completely left and you changed your stream into biology. So that is where the intervention engine comes into picture. So that's why both of them are there on the content side, and it is not there on the data side of it. Now, the data side of it, which is there as a dashboard or the learning data and also the information system, that is completely on the faculty side. So the control is there to the faculty and the teachers, which is the IDs as of today, or the learning development specialists who are there. So those people are the ones who kind of like control the data, analyze the data, and actually feed the data into a predictive model so that the learner path can be generated on its own. So this is the entire design of your instruction instructional design. I can't say instructional design, like how the backend works, or maybe like a framework of how exactly an educational data mining system would work. Now, yeah, so all about the frameworks. Now coming to the impact part of it, like how are we actually impacting this? So again, this was a case study conducted about with 200 people, 200 students, I would say. So, and we discovered like three major things over here. One is the learning behavior with the data models, which I'm going to show you obviously in the next upcoming slides, and how gamification affected us as well. And also the usage of learning analytics and visual data analytics. So as you can see on the dashboard itself, like what is the overall progress, how many new admissions have happened, and what are the graduate and how many scholarships have been kind of like given, like the 52% of scholarships have been given, and also the kind of learning that is happening second by second, and also the monthly view of it and all of that. So all of these are kind of like visualized as on the back end for the learners or for the instructors and ID to actually design their entire system in place, or like their instructional principle design in place. So this has been like a huge impact. To give you a quick a case study on this, I was working with Dell previously prior to LinkedIn, and there, this is where this entire concept of EDM came into picture. Wherein we had the set of people who wanted only instructor led courses, and they didn't want to try out even 1% of a blended learning approach or e-learning, because they were pretty rigid in terms of their own understanding of how exactly e-learning works and why it is not effective. So that was how the entire target audience was, or maybe like the stakeholder audience was. But what we did at the end was that we actually kind of like by showing this EDM model, and also by implementing the EDM and putting this entire process in place, so we were able to kind of like detect that ILT has got like very less amount of concentration. And what happens with ILT and how the concentration levels go haywire is something which I'll show you later on the slides, upcoming slides as well. But we kind of had this entire impact of changing from an ILT led organization into a more interactive e-learning based organization, which was more on the futuristic point of view, which was more of the future, rather than them implementing their sources on the instructor led session. Now, how have we actually applied this educational data mining? So this is where you get this learner data and learner data analysis as well. So this is what I was talking about. So when you actually take the data and analyze it in a graph, we saw that, like, as you can see, there is one high and then there is one low. So again, we put three forms of measurements over here. One was education, income, and age. So when we saw that, when we saw that there was low moderate income, and the age was also on the younger side, like say less than, like, new hires and new graduates that are coming into were much more when compared to the high income and low moderate education. So here again, what we wanted to discover from the entire study here was that it was not, we didn't want to like bifurcate people on terms of income or the amount level of education that they had. We just wanted to show the organization that where exactly can we funnel our training to, and what exactly we can do to improve. So since the organization had the age group of new hires, and also low income, as in, like, as soon as you're hired, like, you do not actually get an income as much as a manager would do or a senior manager would do. But yeah, so you would get a considerably low income when compared to them. So since those number of people were pretty much higher, what we did there was that we took that, and then we actually started generating a lot of content related to the new hire training. So we did a lot of introduction trainings, we did a lot of onboarding trainings. We also analyzed that these onboarding trainings need to be done in a gamified fashion, rather than on like a simple 5-day ILT session, or maybe like just maybe on like 2 days where HR comes and introduces you and all of that. So instead of that, we kind of like decreased it to about like 30-minute gamified session, and also provided the best possible results at the end of the day. So this is how you kind of like analyze how your data works, and how you can kind of like moderate your learning towards it, and what you can do, moderate your entire learning strategy towards it, and what you can do towards it also. So another case study here on the high income and low moderate education was that on the high income side of it, we did know that there were a lot of managers, but they did have a low or low education or low moderate, who were just like maybe not like MBA graduates or anything like that, but they had a lot of work experience, but they didn't have the degree that they needed to complete. So that is where we kind of introduced or collaborated with universities to kind of introduce this sort of management training into the organization, so that even that kind of tends to be being a high income and also a high education sort of a thing. So that was our major motive of creating this learner data analysis over here. And yeah, how exactly age, income, and education kind of like affects the entire organization, and what happens going forward. So yes, That's about the analysis part. But yeah, this is how an exactly a model would look like, how exactly a learner model is, and what you can actually kind of like figure out from this also is that this is like a real generated scatter plot when a gamified course is going on. So when I say it's a scatter plot, again, at one point in time, I think the activity here, this was taken at I think certain time, like I think on the 9th minute or the 10th minute of the courses wherein this entire model was generated and placed over here. As you can see over here, student 5 here has current score has got like 90%, or 90.1, and student 22 has got 91. Similarly, student 57 has scored 70%. So what is the activity time over here? If you see, the total activity time of 22 is 2 lakh some odd seconds, but student 5 has just got 16,000 seconds. So here, when I compare student 5 and student 22, student 2 is a slow learner, but he or she wants to learn perfectly. But if you see student 5, he or she is a fast learner and also answers pretty accurately. But now, when I see student 57, who has taken like 1 lakh odd seconds to get a score of like say 70.3 score, then my concentration or my analysis would be towards more on the student 57, saying that, hey, you know what, like, why you actually scoring this low at this much second? Is there something wrong with the video, or is there something wrong with the entire learning strategy, or don't you really like gamification at all, or are you finding the interface hard? So this is where our instructional designing method kind of like kicks in and says that, hey, okay, so now what, how do we change this, or how can we actually kind of like improve your score from 70 to say 90 in exactly on like say 1 lakh second, instead of having those 77,000 seconds more. So this is how the entire learner model works. But again, each point on this learner model is represented by each student. But yeah, we have just given three students here, like taken an example of three students and placed here. But yeah, every time or every time you create this learner model, you would be learning a lot in terms of how your learner behaves, and also your digital body language of your learner, as to how exactly they're communicating with your computer, or how exactly are they communicating with the LMS. So, or is there something wrong with your entire course itself, that the learner is not able to learn how the course is progressing, or the content part of it. Now, once we get this model is wherein we try to get the outcomes part of it, or wherein we tend to like say that, hey, you know what, you were at this position at this time, but why is it that you were there in this position? So what did we learn as an instructional designer, so that tomorrow while I'm creating another course, or maybe like you want to improve on that course while we're doing it, or maybe like you just have like small next button that needs to be implemented. So one case study over here is that while we were working with field engineers, and there was a ticketing system that was there at the back end. So when we say that we have a ticketing system, so there was a troubleshooting mechanism that they had to, maybe like troubleshooting steps that they needed to perform, rather than before going live, rather than taking up a job aid and then doing that and performing that entire troubleshooting steps on the call or on live call, rather than they performing themselves first and then going on the live call. So the request that came to us was that they needed to train this entire field, like field engineers, on one sort of a software which has to go tomorrow. And it was very similar to the software that was there previously, except for that there were like 2 to 3 changes that needed to be done. So now what happened was that the previous I think solutioning that we had given them was that we had become like all creative and all of that, and given them like a huge gamified course, wherein wherein a person goes and actually explores the system, rather than he or she trying to trying to implement the training on the job. So when we started implementing that, what we got into picture was that, like, at level 1 there was always a drop off, or maybe a person would go into level 1.5 and there would be a drop off. Now when we started using this, and then when we started creating patterns of this, and then we went back to the manager of the team saying that, hey, you know what, we have given them the training and your results are not improving, and even our training results are also not improving. So why is it that both of them both of them don't match. So when we did that, and when we took up the field interviews, and when we saw that, they were actually not liking gamification because they felt it was waste of time. Even though it was creative solution, they just felt that it was waste of time because they had to go on call on the moment, and then they had to take up that entire troubleshooting step. So what they needed was mostly a job aid that can help them on the job, rather than us actually creating the entire gamification solution. So this was one thing that we analyzed from the EDM pattern. So again, this is a basic thing that we analyzed, but then going forward, I'll also show you like how exactly and what were the outcomes of what happened during the educational data mining. We also found out, so there were like these three again were like pretty interesting insights that we got. One was that like higher effort is good, but it is not a good predictor of success. So why we are saying this is because we had like this one course that went up on our system, which had like mostly like AI generated courses, which was like pretty new at that time, and we wanted to like teach them what exactly is AI and what exactly is predictive AI and how it works and all of that. So while we actually took this study on the reading forum versus the average grade for all the quizzes, we saw that there's a blue line, as you can see on the graph. It shows you that as the courses started increasing, as the complexity of the courses started increasing, even the effort of the learner started increasing, but then the people who were actually able to complete the course was pretty less. So this is where we analyze that even though you put higher effort, it is not good. But again, it is not a good predictor for success. It's good, but it's not a good predictor for success, because even though people who had completed the course at the end of it, we had like very less people who had actually submitted an on job project, and also people who could rarely answer the questions also. So this was one thing, and what we analyzed from this also was that people were actually trying to take the courses, but it was not all that great for them. Similarly, again, we took to how exactly learning happens in classrooms. As you can see, this was like a cluster plot over here, which we had like, as I told you, we had like 500 students. So by now we had come from 200 to 500, and we kind of like bifurcated all of these into reading, writing, watching, quiz attempts, and also the certification ratios over here. If you compare like cluster one, which had like 95 students, in that we this was like a completely classroom based training that we gave them. As you can see, the certification ratio is like 10%, and if you see the reading, writing, watching, and quiz attempts, all of them were low, because again, it shows you how exactly a classroom happens. Like 8 hours, the concentration level keeps going up and down. But yeah, again, this is one thing wherein we could actually prove, like we had data to prove that learning doesn't just happen in classroom. If you can see the cluster 2 and cluster 3, this was where there was blended learning. That was like we gave them like few on job trainings and also few e-learnings. So that is where we had like highest number of people who took up the certification, which said that okay, even though we have to read, and then even though there were like lot number of videos to watch too, and also lot number of quizzes that we could attempt, but the certification ratio was like pretty higher when compared to the cluster 1. And on 4, we gave them completely e-learning to do, wherein there was like that static e-learning that you have, wherein there's just like text, audio, and not much of video that are in there, and even quizzes as well, like not much quizzes. The certification ratio was pretty less. So again, they showed us like how important it is to blend both technology, like classroom training as well as e-learning, to get the best possible results. The third thing was that we could also prove that like learning happens all the time. So this was like our learner models that were created for us in time of hours, and also the number of reads that kept on happening on our LMS by utilizing this. So as you can see, we took the time from 12 to 12, and the learning has just been up and down, up and down. So, and all of them are learning at all different odd hours of time, and this just proves that like learning happens like all the time, and it's just not like at one particular time that it happens. So yeah, so what we were exactly able to prove with this was that, like, this was like a framework that we took to place, like taking EDM into consideration, was that first is of your designing objectives. How are we actually designing a learning objective? Like, what type of media should we use? Is mobile access higher, or when do the learners log in, and how do the learners log in, and what are the target audiences? So this gave us a learning objective more in terms of like for learner centric learning objectives, rather than us just directing and then telling them, hey, this is the learning objective of the course. Then it also helped us taking a lot of content design decisions, like, what type of quiz to put in. Like, should it just be a multiple choice, should it be a drag and drop, like how do we do it, and what type of introduction do we need? So do we like do a storytelling introduction, or do we do more in terms of like classroom, and then we give them e-learning, so sort of a thing. So that sort of content design decisions is wherein we started taking. And yes, definitely on consultation and evaluation side, how was the learner evaluation? So since we were mostly on directing the learning path and having the learner take the ownership of their learning, so we had to, like, we had the dashboard that was there in place, which gave them more in terms of like the learner performance. And also we could build certain courses that could align with the business goals. And also what we could figure out from the L&D perspective was that there was access to education all the time, and there was lifelong learning, as we proved. Like there was like complete lifelong learning, like learning happens all the time. So that was something that we were able to prove as well. There's a lot of cost reduction and also high ROI. Again, ROI I'm getting in terms of like the effort hours which IDs were putting into for creating the storyboards, for creating creative solutions, and etc. etc. So ROI and cost reduction went into that factor over there, wherein we shifted from just gamified approach, or maybe like just say classroom based approach, into a more blended learning approach and micro learning approach. And quality improvement, and there was definitely a connection of this knowledge society in place, wherein quality improvement in terms of like quality of education that we are giving our learners, and also the quality of training that we are giving learners. And knowledge society, again, this was for our own thing, wherein we were actually able to create these learning models, share it with the industry, and say that, hey, this is what's happening, and maybe you want to rethink on your learning strategy, sort of. Yeah, so just coming to the end of it, definitely you just go ahead and try. Even it doesn't have to be that you have to have like major softwares in place. Just go read your data from the elements that you're getting, put in a few graphs, and just explore the pattern on how it is, and it will definitely leave you in amazement. And with that, I'd like to conclude. In case you have any questions, that's my personal email ID. I do have my personal website in place as well. You can feel free to drop a text on my personal website, and also I can drop in my LinkedIn profile link in the chat section so that you can connect with me and talk to me about EDM. Now I'm open to questions. Any questions, comments?
Okay, we'll give the chat a moment to get any questions in. I'm going to leave the slides full screen because for some reason the video is flickering when we're on screen. So I'm just going to put the slides back up, so that you don't cause anyone any problems with the flickering screen. But I mean, that was. I think I need to digest some of that. But there was so much fantastic information in there. So let me just go over and check the Q&A. It's a great opportunity to ask questions about this. So I guess one question that I've got is if I'm starting from a place of my team, my organization has nothing like this in place.
Hmm.
What would step one look like for me? Where should I start? Because I'm not going to be able to go from nothing to all of that, I guess, in one jump.
Yeah, I think the step one which we actually took was creation of surveys and a lot of field interviews. So I think that step helped us in actually our data collection part of it before we implemented any system in place. So we wanted to first decide, like, do we need the system in place or not? So for that we sent out like a bunch of surveys to, I think, on a team level we had like 5 people who took up the survey. And also we decided on that factor on how exactly we can analyze the survey and go about it. So there are a few survey questions wherein you get this data, and also the kind of tool that we use, which is a visualization tool, obviously. But in case you do not have that tool, you can go ahead and do it on a normal Google Forms itself, or an MS Forms like the Microsoft Forms. So you can just distribute that and see how exactly people are actually responding to you, collect that data and visualize that month on month. So if say there are like five people is your sample set, send that data out, collect that data and visualize that month on month. And once you visualize it, like visualize here, I mean just put it on an Excel sheet, create a pivot table, and
Hmm.
have a few graphs in place so that you know like how exactly that pattern is going. So you don't have to have a huge system in place, but it's just that even with something like Excel sheets and Google Forms is also something that you can do your analysis on, and that's also like educational data mining.
Fantastic. We have a question here from Desiree. I very much appreciate the example of clustering groups of e-learning, live ILTs, and hybrid. What attributes were considered?
Attributes to learning or attributes in creating the learning strategy?
We just have
um,
attributes. If you've got a specific request, drop it in the chat. But if not, let's look at the learning strategy piece.
Okay, so if it's in terms of like learning strategy, like yeah, ILTs was something like a traditional thing that were there in place. So few attributes there we consider to convert it into e-learning was obviously the UI UX part of it. Like, are we actually delivering it through a mobile? Are we delivering it through a desktop? Or how do we do that? And if we are doing that, do we create a reactive, what do you call it, responsive e-learning, and also present that and host it on our LMS? That was one attribute. And also like how exactly people, so in terms of adult learning, if I have to tell you, like how exactly were people responding to a course like an e-learning course, even if it was a next button, but how are they actually responding? So are they spending a lot of time on video? Are they spending a lot of time on reading content? So those are some sort of like learning attributes that were also some few of them that were like kept in mind while actually re-strategizing our entire L&D strategy. And one more attribute that we kept in mind is the number of words that we are putting on screen. So we preferred it to be, again, this is an internal study wherein we preferred the number of words to be on a screen, or any sort of a screen, was to be 250 to 100 if the learning has to be effective. So that was another attribute that we considered in place. And the other one was definitely the time part of it. How long is an e-learning course? So, and also with that, all of these four attributes combined with the business objectives. So yeah, these were like the four major things that we considered to create our hybrid strategy.
Fantastic. And one last question. Do you have, or perhaps you know of one somewhere, a library of sample survey questions?
I do have them. Like there are few basic questions. Like there are like 5 ways to create like these sample questions, like to create a generation of heat map. One would be maybe the place in which they are taking from, the the desktop, and like the mode of learning that they are doing. And also in terms of like UI UX part of it, like visual designing part of it, that is also something that you might consider while setting up survey questions. And also in terms of knowledge, are you like giving the correct quiz, and is the quiz actually giving you the correct knowledge? So presenting the correct knowledge to the learner, so that is also one of them. But I can definitely share the library of questions, which again is pretty much learner, like target audience centric, rather than just sharing like a library of questions.
Fantastic. Well, that is time. Thank you so much for that. I think there's a lot to take away there. I think this is one of those ones as well where I think the recording is going to be invaluable, because now I'm going to have to go back and watch it a few times and take lots of notes from this, because there's lots to go and implement, which is what we like to see. So, out. Thank you very much. And our next session is at 3:45 GMT, so in 15 minutes. And we have design principles to help you design better learning content. So really exciting stuff coming up. And then at 4:30 on the Zoho stage, we have learning how to learn better with our brains, a really exciting session with the Learning Pirates. So, two fantastic sessions coming up. Thank you, everyone, for attending, and we shall see you later.